are back with the Buffalonian podcast, betting on the Bills week 1. Dom, it's here. Football's so back. We're ready to go. I'm so excited. We're recording this on Thursday. You're going to see it on a Friday. We're going to see the Ravens. Sorry, another AFC North team. We're going to see the Ravens, the Chiefs in an AFC Championship rematch. It's sure to be a good game to kickstart the season, and then the Bills take on the Cardinals Sunday, which is what we are officially here to talk about for the first time this season. Again, betting on the Bills week 1. Dom, how are you feeling? I mean, it's nothing but exciting, is it not?
Good, very good vibes so far.
Good vibes now until
We'll
they
see that.
play.
Listen, let's put it this way: it was good. It was all right vibes going to week 1 last year, and then after week 1, like the vibes after that game took a massive dump. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we shall see. I'm hoping they don't. Because last year, maybe me not being at the opener will make a difference, because I was in New York last year, and I remember texting on the way home, when are we going to record? Because it was terrible. We had to talk about it, but hopefully against the Cardinals, they can pull out a different result. But either way, it's football season. It's officially back this week. No more preseason BS, no more speculation, no more rumors, just all football all the time. And I cannot be more excited. Speaking of, let's dive right into this matchup against the Cardinals. 1 o'clock game to start the season. It's actually home. Their opener is at home, like it has in the past few years. I think it was Pittsburgh where we were at. Was that their last home opener first game?
Yeah, 2021. Yeah, because 22 they were in LA, 23 in New
Yes.
York. Yeah.
Yeah.
New Jersey. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, hoping for a good result. Kyler Murray, kind of a question mark. You don't know what he's going to be like. The Cardinals in general, they could bounce back. They look to have a pretty solid squad, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. But on the Bills side of the ball, you didn't really see a lot of Josh Allen in the preseason at all. You saw a quarter, which resulted in a drive and a half, and then he was gone. And you saw Mitch Trubisky, who's just terrible and shouldn't be on the roster. Mike White should definitely jump his spot. But Dom, what are you looking for most in this first game, having not seen Allen in the preseason very frequently? And I mean, I could tell you what I'm looking for. Are the wide receivers going to click? Because you haven't really gotten game time with them yet. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, breaking it down, going from Bills offense against the Cardinals defense, I just think it's like kind of like that. You kind of had to have a dominating performance because this is one of the worst defenses you're going to face in the entire year. It just happens to be week 1. They weren't very good last year, Arizona. They still don't have a great defensive line. I mean, you got to give them credit. They play very hard for Jonathan Gannon, and they do some funky stuff with their schemes. But this isn't a great very talented defense, I should say. Not a lot of great players. I mean, there's a couple of playmakers in the safety position, Buda Baker. So that's a little bit of a concern because he's kind of like wild, Swiss Army knife that does everything. But this is a team that not a lot of good, not a lot of name recognition in the cornerback position. Again, D-line, not really a strength. They weren't good against the run last year. So this could be a big game for James Cook in the ground game. And then also, as I alluded to with these corners, this is an opportunity for Josh Allen and those wide receivers to have a favorable matchup on the outside. And again, we'll see, as you allude to, Curtis Samuel missed a lot of time, especially at the end of training camp in the preseason with that turf toe issue. Valdez Scantling got banged up with that neck issue. Matt Collins is ahead of Keon Coleman on the depth chart. So I think we're just going to see a lot of, in the passing game, a lot of Dalton Kincaid and a lot of Khalil Shakir. And those are the two guys that he has the most chemistry with, most experience with. Maybe he'll sprinkle a little bit Dawson Knox. But I think those two guys are in line for big days. And I think James Cook in the ground game could have a very good week 1 against this Cardinals defense.
That'd be huge. James Cook, I mean, hopefully he can use his hands a little better. We might be able to see that too, instead of dropping every pass pretty much thrown his way. But you're right. Dalton Kincaid and Josh Allen did practice a lot together in the offseason. So they really worked together, which is good. And, he really, when Knox was injured with that shoulder or wrist injury, Allen and Kincaid really clicked. And, I took him as a late round pick, or actually I didn't. I took him pretty early in the fantasy draft, but he ended up working out pretty well towards the season. And hopefully you see more of that. And yeah, Shakir is the only receiver returning who has caught a pass from Josh Allen in a game time situation. So it's definitely going to be interesting. But I mean, kind of with you on that. I think you'll see those two guys before you really see uh, Keon Coleman and Matt Collins and those guys.
Sure. I think really there's a couple of things to just kind of look for on the offense. Like, what is James Cook's touch rate compared to the other running backs? I think everyone thinks that he could have a bigger, season, but I don't know. I think the running backs, Ty Johnson, they really liked last year. Obviously, I think they drafted Ray Davis in the 4th round, and he looked pretty good in the preseason. And Latavius Murray kind of got off to the hot start and then died off. I think there's real potential for James Cook maybe to start off with a higher workload, kind of like at the end of the year, but kind of get his workload eaten into by those two backs. So I guess we'll kind of see what happens there. That's good to know. And then you allude to it, Kincaid. Like, that's kind of like the number one thing I'm looking for is that the hype can never be like that. That is hype that this guy drafted in the 1st round has that kind of felt, like a under the radar, but really solid rookie season. Kind of could see now a year 2 jump. Everyone thinking maybe this guy catches 100 balls, maybe he gets to 1,000 yards. Like, if he's that guy week 1, like, then you have an option. Then also, I guess this, the third thing to really look for is who. I mean, I assume it's going to be Shakir, but outside of those top 2 of Kincaid and Shakir, who's really 3? Is it Dawson Knox in the double tight end? It's maybe Curtis Samuel getting those touches. How much run does really Keon Coleman really get? Because I feel like for this offense in the X receiver role, if Matt Collins being out there is really just kind of a dude, you're just going to block and run in a straight line. That's about it. I don't think they want to put Keon on the role, but then we're just Keon fit in the offense. I think will be something to look forward to.
Yeah,
especially in the red zone too.
Yeah, 100%. Right. I mean, his thing is contested catches. Right. So this wide receiver room in general for the Bills is so new and fresh because they're all big. The Bills have not had a very large wide receiver room in their recent years, you could say. I mean, Cole Beasley was footing the bill at literally 5'9". Like, like he wasn't huge. So, and Khalil Shakir even smaller still. So it'll be interesting to see and if they do the 2 tight end set, which we heard nonstop all last season, pretty much between Knox and Kincaid after the draft. So we'll see if Joe Brady can do simple better than Dorsey could, and I guess go from there. But on the defensive side of the ball, we'll flip-flop over there. I think you're going to just look for offensive line dominance, right? Greg Rousseau, you look back in the preseason, that's the one thing that you've seen where you're like, okay, like the defense is still the defense. Like you said, though, the safety situation, the cornerback situation, DeMar Hamlin is a starting safety for the Bills this season. That's where you're going to be more uncertain. Say the defensive line is still the defensive line. Your edge rushers are still your edge rushers. Von Miller, will he come back? But I guess between all of that, the safeties, sure, and the cornerback, sure. But what do you think on the defensive line? We'll start there. What's the biggest question mark for you there?
I mean, I think for me, it's you're playing a team in Arizona that, while their record wasn't great, was one of the more dominant rushing attacks in the league. And now having a year removed now from Kyler Murray returning from his ACL injury, like, they're only going to be more potent. Like, James Conner's, like, everyone always says James Conner's one of the most underrated running backs in the entire league. They have a good running system. They have, good blocking tight ends. I obviously have Trey McBride, who's one of the best tight ends in football. They add Marvin Harrison Jr. to be a little bit more explosive on the outside. So it's going to be very interesting to see, I think, for the D-line this week, playing a solid offensive tackle group, Paris Johnson, Jonah Williams. So I think for them, it's more of, can you be disciplined in your rushes so you don't give Kyler Murray the ability to scramble for big plays or, create explosive plays off schedule? And can you stop the run? And if they're able to do that, I think, and make them, Arizona be a little bit more one-dimensional throwing the ball, especially the outside, where other than Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson's a nice receiver, but Greg Dortch is a nice slot receiver. But I don't think they're weapons that really put the fear of death into you per se. So I think for the D-line, I think you're just looking at them to, have a solid day of the office against the run and be smart pass rushing the quarterback. And I think it's also, let's see where Von's at, because that's kind of an X factor. You want to see, can Groot take that next step? And then I think a interesting storyline will really be, to see what AJ Epinesa has in store. Kind of a guy that had a very hot first half, got injured with that rib injury, wasn't really the same player in the second half. Obviously got the contract
Right.
extension in the offseason, and now, didn't flash too much in the preseason. So I think that he has an interesting opportunity as well for the D line. But then also looking at like the back seven per se, I think it's going to be interesting. Damar Hamlin starts opposite Taylor Rapp. I don't know if he won the job because of his play, or more his familiarity with being in the system for more than a couple of years now, and also he was mostly healthy. I know he had the hamstring issue, so it's gonna be interesting to see if they rotate those safeties. With Dorian Williams coming in for Matt Milano, is that like a situation you're playing one of the best tight ends in Trey McBride? That's kind of a mismatch in coverage. Is it potential, or we're going to see that dime linebacker? Does Mike Edwards take that role as the third safety and play, guard the tight end? Because listen, the Bills have a hard tight end schedule. Like, they play Trey McBride, they play George Kittle, they play Travis Kelce, they play Mark Andrews, they play Evan Ingram. Like, they have very challenging tight ends, and they're going to get tested very early into the season. I think they play a couple of those guys the first couple of weeks and then midway through the season. So I think that's going to be fascinating. And then lastly, I think the cornerbacks are going to be interesting to watch because, Douglas and Benford have always kind of been, your kind of pen and paper. Those are your starting two outside cornerbacks. I'm very interested to see if we see Kaiir Elam, not because of injury, but because there's some kind of rotation, because he obviously had a good offseason. I think the change in DB maybe lets them play a little bit more freely. So make them read and react kind of. So maybe that helps him, and Douglas has praised it as well. So I'm interested to see if we see a rotation between those three, or is it mainly just two guys, and is it Douglas and Benford? I think that's a underrated kind of storyline that I don't think a lot of people are discussing, because Kaiir Elam just has seemed to be a bust, but he had a good offseason. So and if he plays, does he play well?
Right. Yeah, you're 100% correct. All through training camp, you heard his name basically brought up at St. John Fisher, right? And the Bills' defense under Bobby Babich, maybe he's able to squeeze something out of him and make him, a starting caliber, if you will, or just make him a serviceable cornerback to create a rotation. And that's, I mean, truthfully, if we're speaking now just on defense, Bobby Babich, I'm just excited. He's play calling. It's not McDermott play calling. So I'm kind of intrigued to see if the defense does show different looks, if they do things a little differently, because I know you and I were both fans of how McDermott called the defense after Leslie Frazier's departure, the more aggressive tone, right? Getting more pressure in the backfield, less prevent defense in game time situations, right? So I don't know. I think I'm intrigued about Bobby Babich and seeing what he does with that defense. And I think they have the pieces. I really do. And the whole thing, everyone in the offseason, Poyer and Hyde, it's tough. Don't get me wrong. The experience, losing that experience is not something you want to do. But at the same time, if you look at how much time they spent on the field together as a tandem due to injury as they got older, Poyer really took a step back speed-wise. And even Tre'Davious White joining that conversation, he was injured for basically the past season and a half. He didn't really play. As soon as he came back and started to hit his stride like he was himself again, he ruptures his Achilles. So at this point, I think you kind of have to move on from the thought like, they haven't played in a secondary without those guys in a long time, because they basically have, just at different occasions, right? So I think they'll be fine. Mike Edwards is a good safety. I hope they have a rotation going. Damar Hamlin, he might blow our socks off. Who knows? What if Bobby Babich gets something out of him? It's just remarkable to me that he's actually starting. I think it's like 20 months after his incident in Cincinnati. So that was the big story there. So, will that be comeback player of the year now that he's a starter? We'll have to wait and see that. We're going to talk awards in a little bit. Or will it be Aaron Rodgers if he goes to another team and survives the New York Jets like Joe Flacco? Who knows? Could be anything here. So I don't know. I think the coordinators are interesting and all the players listed. So it's tough to kind of, we're still in that speculatory phase, right? Like we haven't seen any on-field product yet to really analyze. We've seen preseason product, but sorry, I'm not judging wide receivers based off of throws from Mitch Trubisky. That's just not happening. So
the real
that's
game
the problem.
The real game starts Sunday, so I think it's going to be.
We'll actually have some hard evidence.
I do think the one thing, I don't know if it's downplayed, but with Poyer and Hyde not being there is that they did have, you know, the 100% trust the coaching staff to be in the
Oh
right
yeah.
position. So I do wonder if it does that impact play calling maybe a little bit in key situations. You could trust the guy to be in a certain spot. I mean, honestly, I think that's somewhat the case because that's why DeMar Hamlin really is starting over maybe Mike Edwards, who may be a little bit more talented, but hasn't had the reps in the system. Obviously, Cole Bishop missed a lot of time as well. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see who the inactives are. It only seems really that Javon Solomon with his oblique injury is really the only one that's really banged up. So, yeah, I think they're healthy. I think this will be an interesting game because I think it's going to be a little bit more high scoring than I think people anticipate.
Yeah.
Um, I know the spread is 6.5. I think it's going to be, if you're making a prediction, I think this is a good litmus test for the Bills for a lot of reasons. I said for the Bills defense, you're playing against the elite tight end, you're playing against an elite ground game, mobile quarterback. Kind of how do you handle all those three things, kind of in week one? Then for an offense, it's kind of like how does it all come together with this new group against a defense that again is not the most talented defense you'll play. It's confusing, and they play hard, but this is not this is a below average defense. It just is what it is. It's not disrespectful. It's just that's kind of how they are talent wise. They can't do
Yeah.
so much. So you're expecting a good performance in this offense, and we'll see the defense. So I think it's going to be like 31-27. I think it's going to be a competitive football game to the end, but. When we talk about players of the game, like I just think this is Josh Allen, week one, throws for 300 yards, throws for 4 touchdowns. I know it's like
It's cliche to pick, but that's
cliche.
right where my head's at too. I can't steer away from it, especially like you said against a below average defense. Josh Allen has been caged up the entire preseason. That guy just wants to rock the football, so he's gonna do that. My score prediction. It's not my favorite one to say on this show. I know 21-14 sounds really appealing, right? It's going to be 35-21. So same differential, same 7-point differential, but Bills score 5 touchdowns there. I think it's easy between the ground game, Allen's rushing. Just in general, this season, the offense has the keys to the car. That's just how it is, in my opinion. Younger defense to the point where, like we mentioned, you don't have the why is it escaping me? You don't have the experience there. You don't have the experience that you had. The mistakes are going to get made on defense, I think, but it'll all come together at some point. But your offense is going to be the driving force this season, I think, behind where you end up in the playoffs wise. Because if you haven't noticed, the Bills are not being picked very highly to end up at the top of the division either. So it's an
What was
underdog
your
season. 35-21. It was a 7-point differential, so they cover the spread.
35-21 is 14, my dog.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, you're right. So math is not mathing. That's why I don't do math in public. But anyway, let's take a look. You want to
Transition to
do
talk
season
about
awards?
division awards. I do want to say I just want to ask one thing.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on there only being 2 captains? And I was gonna say we could predict who the 10-man leadership council is, but that got announced today. So now I feel like I'm mad about that. I was literally like, oh man, we should go through and predict who we think the 10 are, but then it got leaked, and I was like, okay, cool.
I kind of like the 2 captains. I'm not gonna lie to you because it's I younger team, right? The captains last year. I mean, Gabe Davis was basically a lineman last year, and he was a captain. He only blocked. He didn't really do anything else. But
Oh
the
my
captains
god.
last year all had experience within the system, a lot of it. The captains this year have more experience, right? But other than that, where are you going? For experience wise, the 2 leaders on the offensive defense, it's Allen and Bernard, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think truthfully, I think that's the way to go. Don't have a lot of experience around all the positions. Your wide receiver room, who had multiple captains last year, is basically not there anymore. So I think the 2 captains are a good spot, and who knows? Maybe we'll be able to predict the 10-man captaincy. Who knows in the coming years, but not this year.
I always thought it was weird that 8 people teams have 8 captains, and it's all right, so what, 8 out of 53. I'm blanking on the math, but 15% of your team is
Probably.
basically captains like that.
Yeah.
seems like it waters down the, the, I don't want to say responsibility, but like it just seems like it waters down the achievement per se. Seems a
Yeah.
little more like you're throwing out like a participation emoji. So I like having a new setup. It's interesting to see how they worded it. With the leadership council being 10, other than the the captains being 2. But you got one captain, your quarterback, captain of the the offense, and then your middle linebacker, your Mike linebacker, who's the captain of the defense. So you if you had to choose 2 captains, you would prefer that your 2 captains would be literally the captains of their respected sides of the ball. So
they're the ones calling the plays and making adjustments down on the field. So you might as well, right? I mean, you got to hope.
I'm excited about that. So, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I'm so mad that the 10-man leadership council got dropped. But whatever.
You were wanting to predict it.
Yeah, I believe I'm blanking on the names too, but you could. It's surfaced. It's like Dawson Knox, Taylor Rapp, I think Reed Ferguson, Daquan Jones, Von Miller, Connor McGovern. I think maybe D-Doc's on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Khalil Shakir's on there, which made sense because they had that big thing about him.
Yeah.
That red and blue beyond. So it is what it is. But moving on now to, do you want to do, let's do divisions first and then we could do awards?
Yeah. Do you want to do like the full listing of the division or just the winner in each?
Just the winner. Yeah, that's too much work for me.
Okay. Yeah, for a quick program here. So I off air, Dom and I discussed this. I already have gone through and bet division winners. Dom, now working for the NFL, has lost all betting and fantasy privileges for the most part. So he's not partaking in this. Do not worry. But so the Bills I took to win the AFC East because I don't know. I get it. I get the hype between the Jets and Dolphins, but like, I don't know. I feel like until it's not the Bills division, it's the Bills division. That's
I'll take the Bills too. Yeah. I mean, I think 10-7, 11-6. We'll see how the tiebreakers turn out, but yeah, I think the Bills get it done. I think it's going to be a weird year though.
It'll be goofy. I mean, the Patriots are just non-existent basically. It's a 3-man division, but anyway, AFC North.
We lost last year.
What'd you say?
We lost the pass last year, so
we did. Who knows? It's any given Sunday. My favorite thing to say, any given Sunday. You never know. But anyway, AFC North, I have the Bengals coming back and winning it with Slim Shady at quarterback. How about you?
Bengals.
Yeah, they kind of trade off with the Ravens. Maybe. Yeah, seriously.
Fourth place schedule, I think, matters. As long as Jamar's in there, feel pretty confident about that pick.
Yeah, absolutely. AFC South, I have the Texans. It just seems like the pick. Who do you have?
I got the Jags. I think the Jags. I think the Jags stun a little bit. I think the Texans will get in the wild card, but I think a lot of people forget that the Texans nearly were one not drop pass away from missing the playoffs, and then they also got dog walked by Baltimore. So I'm not saying they haven't improved with adding Diggs and Deal Hunter and all that, but I do think. I don't know. I think the Jags are kind of a little bit slept on T-Law and all. I think T-Law had a rough year last year. I think it's forgotten that he basically was on one leg at the end of the year because he snapped his leg, almost looked like in Monday Night Football. I don't know how he's able to play, but credit to him for his toughness. But yeah, I got the Jags. I think they bounce back.
Okay. All right. That's the AFC South. AFC
I think
West,
we could skip the West. Excuse.
NFC now to the NFC. The NFC East. We'll start there. The Philadelphia Eagles, I have winning their division.
This one's tough. I think the Dallas or Eagles favorite in that division.
I think Dallas was the favorite. I'm not gonna lie. When I pick,
I think I'm gonna go Eagles because I think I don't know. Dallas has that weird vibe off season, and the Eagles had a bad year at the end of the year, and I guess we had to kind of see with them. But they attacked their problems. I think adding Saquon helps them.
Yeah,
I think their revamped defense helps them. I'm a little concerned with the loss of Jason Kelsey and can Jalen Hurts deal with the blitz, but they have new coaches. I like Kellen Moore as the OC, so I'll take the Eagles.
Okay, Eagles for the NFC East. NFC South. Okay, big Kirko in that division now.
I got the Falcons. It's a mid-off. I don't care.
It is a mid-off. I took the Buccaneers, so we'll see. Go back. Can Baker Mayfield improve? That's the question. Anyway, they won their division going with a sub 500 record, so I really don't care. Anyway, San Francisco 49ers, I have taken the NFC West.
I had the Niners as well. Niners are kind of in the same boat as the Chiefs. I just had, and maybe the Bills for that matter. I just had to, when it happens, I'll like if the Rams have a good year, somehow the Seahawks jump in there, But I just think they're too talented.
It's theirs until it's not.
Especially now getting Ayuk and Williams signed for the season.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, drum roll, the NFC North, the final division. I have the Chicago Bears winning it with a 4th place schedule and improved quarterback play. I think they're going to do it. I think they surprise.
I got Green Bay. I don't have Detroit. I think Detroit's a wild card team. I just think for Detroit's weirdly one of those teams that really struggled defensively in pass defense, and they added, Carlton Davis. They drafted Terry Arnold, but yeah, they're a team that I kind of had to see. The first month of the year before I feel them out. Green Bay, I like how they ended their season. I know it was a tough loss against San Francisco, but they really should have won that game. So I like Jordan Love second half. I think that was the real Jordan Love, and I think their defensive better play calling this year will improve. So I got the Packers in kind of a little bit mini upset.
Yeah, well,
I mean, you had the Bears.
That's an upset. That's a big upset. But again, 4th place strength schedule. They might be able to pull something off. They might be able to route. Who knows? We'll see. It's all any given Sunday. But anyway, that's our division picks right there. Do we want to do award winners to round it out after the preview here?
Sure.
All right. Where do you want to start? Do you want to do full NFL honors or do you want to do Bills honors?
Let's do NFL.
Yeah. All right. Let's start it off with, the most fraudulent last year, if you ask me, the MVP. Who's your MVP?
Well, I have predicted the MVP correctly back-to-back years. Picked Mahomes in 22. I did pick Lamar in 23.
You did.
So a lot of pressure to go 3 in a row. I have not picked Josh since the first year we did the pod in 21. Obviously, that was wrong. And I feel like all the makings are for him to have a MVP caliber season, especially against the Bills in the playoffs. But with that being said, I think the 4th place schedule, I think the bounce back, and I think he's going to put up some big numbers. I think the MVP is going to go to quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow.
It's not a bad pick. Joe Burrow is not a bad pick. Slim Shady. Okay.
I think they're going to be the 1 seed in the AFC. So,
yeah, with a 4th place schedule, you're not wrong. I truthfully, though, I mean, it's a homer pick, 100%. And I've done it. I think I've done it every year, haven't I? Is this?
Yep, you're Opa.
Yeah, I'm 0 for 3. This will be year 4. Josh Allen. I truthfully think if the Bills do make the playoffs, it's because he's really pushed the team there, especially with such a young receiving core and a young defense inexperience. He's going to be the reason that team moves. So that's where I'm at. And I know that's Bills favorite Bill Homer. No, it's there's some reason behind it, but yeah, I am biased. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so that's MVP. Coach of the year. Sorry, I'm going down the list on the NFL website. Coach of the year. Who's your coach of the year?
I think it's going to be Sean McDermott.
You think so?
I think the Bills are going to win the division, and I think a lot of people in the national media don't really think that's going to happen. So I think if the Bills finish 11-6 and win the division, I think he has a very good chance of winning Coach of the Year. So I would pick McDermott.
If the Chargers make the playoffs in advance, I mean, if they make the playoffs, it might be Harbaugh stepping in there.
I was thinking of when I said McDermott, I was thinking if there's like another person that like just took over for a job, or maybe a mid team that could maybe, that's always usually kind of what happens to coaches, like at the mid team that somehow goes 10-7.
That was Dable. Dable won. He went to the playoffs with. He got the Giants into the playoffs, and wasn't he coach of the year? Am I wrong, or was he nominated?
I think he won coach of the year. I'm a homer. I picked McDermott. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. I'm Jim Harbaugh, 100% of the way. I think he's got a shot. Yeah. Okay. That's coach of the year. Comeback player of the year, DeMar Hamlin. He's starting officially. He's not just a special
I don't
teamer.
even know if he counts anymore, but I've picked Joe Burrow to win MVP, so I think it only makes sense that I picked Joe Burrow to win Player of the Year.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's not a bad pick. I don't know if
this is my
DeMar
2 for
counts,
1.
but yeah, just whatever. Say DeMar, even if it doesn't count. Offensive Player of the Year. This could get interesting here. If
Yes.
if the Vikings do well with Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson's at the center of it, that could be him.
No chance. No
I think CeeDee
chance.
Lamb gets it though.
No chance. I think this is his year. Tyreek Hill.
You think
Last
Reek?
year, last year was looking good for the first couple of months. Christian McCaffrey came in, had an all-time running back season, and stole it from him. I think Tyreek gets it done this year. Has a full 17 games. I'm not saying that because he's on my fantasy team, but I think Tyreek has a big season.
Okay. I think I'm going younger. I think it is gonna be CD after getting the big contract. He's gonna explode. So
No, he's on your team too in Dynasty. So.
wow, look at that. Yeah. No
I just
bias there.
realized Joe Burrow's on my team too. So
Yeah, your dynasty team. So all right. Defensive player of the year. Who you got?
I'll go Mad Max Crosby. I think a little off the radar, but TJ Watt has his, Garrett has his. I think it's really going to be fresh blood this year. Micah Parsons could be kind of up there as well, but I think Max Crosby, the Raiders getting Christian Wilkins, I think will help him get more 1-on-1s. Dude doesn't come off the field. So I think this is the year he kind of puts like a 18 sack season because he just has so many snaps more than everyone, and he's a great run defender. So I think Crosby comes through here.
I think part of San Francisco trouncing their division is due to Nick Bosa's dominance in the backfield.
Another DPOI for Nick Bosa. Huh?
I think he gets another. Yep, Nick Bosa. That's my pick. All right. Best is there really an award category for this? Best moment of the year?
No, we can skip that.
Skip that. I was gonna say we don't know the moments. Let's see. It's a flag football player of the year. Yikes! We can't be doing that.
We could
is
just
there
do
any
the
other
rookie. We could
rookie
do
of the
the
year?
rookies. So offensive rookie of the year, I think is going to be Caleb.
Yeah,
But I think the Bears are going to sneak in as the 7th seed. So I'm going to just pick. I'm going chalk there, Caleb.
I'm going with them because they're winning the freaking division. That's what's
think
happening.
you can make a case maybe Malik Neighbors of a big season if he just gets force fed the ball. But we've seen time and time again that if you have a good quarterback season as rookie of the year, you normally win. And we just saw Puka Nacua break records and lose to Stroud, and we saw Justin Jefferson have a good year but lose to Justin Herbert. So yeah, I'll lean the quarterback as kind of a quarterback award. And then DPOI, it's tough this year. It's tough for defensive player of the year because we went 14 or 15 picks till the first defensive player was taken.
Yeah,
it makes this award challenging, but I'll go Latu for the Colts, the edge rusher from UCLA. I think he's a good player, and I think the Colts are going to be a solid team, so I think he'll get enough buzz.
I think Dallas Turner on the Vikings might have a shot. That's my pick.
Edge rusher is a pretty good pick for that award. So
yeah, give me Dallas Turner for the defense.
One last thing before we sign off.
Okay.
You had to make your Super Bowl pick.
Oh. Okay.
I'll go first. Shoot. I think there will be no three-peat. I think the Chiefs are going to get knocked out by the Bills in the divisional round. Is my prediction for the Chiefs. I think they're going to get the 2 seed. Bills will get the 3 seed, and the Bills will beat them in Arrowhead in the divisional round. However, I think the NFC team coming out will be San Francisco, and I think they'll ride the ship. I don't see another team in the NFC that scares me. I think Green Bay I like, but again, Green Bay is kind of green, a little young. So I'll go a rematch of a couple Super Bowls in the 80s. Cincinnati, though, gets the job done, beats San Francisco. So I think Cincinnati takes down the Niners.
Okay.
I think Cincinnati takes down the Niners.
Okay.
I think Cincinnati takes down the Niners. So I think Cincinnati takes down the Niners. So I think Cincinnati takes down the Niners. So I think
All right. Well, our NFC pick is the same Bengals. I like the pick. They've been there. Joe Burrow's been there. He wants to get back there. They have a better built out team. I think the Bills make it to the AFC Championship, but fall, unfortunately, just this season because it's kind of a retool season. But I do think it's a rematch of Chiefs Niners, but the Niners prevail this time. So the three-peat is not there. That's kind of where I'm at. What do you think?
Hey, not bad. I mean,
listen. The Bills make an AFC Championship on a retool year. Give me it. Give me it right now.
I feel like if that happened, I'd be pretty happy. I might be sad because losing to Burrow would really suck after beating Mahomes in Mahomes' place in my scenario. But yeah, I like Cincinnati as a trendy pick. I think that's like a pick that maybe not too many people are picking. The NFC is just tough because it just feels like it's there's not a lot of options. Like for the AFC,
it's a sea
Bills,
of mediocrity in the NFC.
Bills,
That's
Chiefs, Ravens, Bengals. Heck, you want to get frisky and put Texans too. Like you got some teams. NFC, it's like the Niners, and then it's like, is Dallas gonna get through in the playoffs? Is Philadelphia gonna bounce back? The NFC South is blah. North, I mean, I like the Lions and I like the Packers, so we'll see. But I just think the Niners are still the class of the NFC.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I think that's going to do it, though, for this edition of Betting on the Bills, the Week 1 edition. So we're back. Happy to watch football this weekend, get a hard look at what the Bills do and what they might need to work on or what they're going to be decent at right from the start. We'll see. All the questions will be answered and more questions will be asked after this weekend. So, here's the difference, though. We start talking Sabres, then there are questions that won't be answered. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian podcast, Betting on the Bills. I'm Joe Kelly. I was joined by Dom Loss. And Dom, how do we always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.